Well, evening, John Hudspeth, filming videos this fall, but now I'm preparing for this one to start some Christmas carols for next month as we're approaching Christmas. And I'll announce the selection as I go along, and I hope later in early December for the end to get a later video of some other Christmas songs that are mostly other than carols, but a combination we'll discuss later. And the basic ones, I'm going to start with the first two I ever learned in my life back in 1956, because my late teacher, Laverne Morrison, in elementary school liked my music ability, and in the fall of 56 and leading up to December, the first two I ever learned from just hearing her play was Away in a Manger and Silent Night, and I'll start with those two. And then the next was Silent Night, and it had to be composed at the last minute in the early 1800s when Franz Gruber's church had mice get into the organ. They couldn't play what they intended to, so they tried to get a good song for here, and a repairman of the organ helped even spread this tune around. And the next one I'll do is O Come, Emmanuel. This is kind of an Advent song in the transition between after Thanksgiving and Christmas. And I first learned it from another sort of James Shepard at Old University Junior High School in 8th grade. At the same time I was learning Jesu Joy of Man's Desiring. And it was in his class I first learned of this tune and picked it up. And O Come, Emmanuel is a really good transition carol, and I'll play it now. Well, the next I'll play is God Rest You Merry Gentlemen, the old English carol. And traditional Catholic carol and song, O Come All Ye Faithful, Est Fidelis. I'll do It Came Up on the Midnight Clear. Now we're having Christmas Eve emphasis carols. Now I'll play Oh Holy Night, longtime French carol. It got famous in one way in 1906 when it had been played for years, that they were able to transmit it across the ocean to even America on the Marconi wireless for a broadcast on radios. So that was a big highlight of that year. 6 years later, of course, Marconi made the news of the tragedy of the Titanic, but this is one of the more positive nights that was related to the Marconi wireless, 1906. And so, Oh Holy Night. Now we'll do Oh Little Town of Bethlehem, written in a hurry trying to get a new song within a church before Christmas by Phillips Brooks, I think in the late 1860s. And this one's tells about Bethlehem, the birth and the hopes that Christ would offer. play a verse of We Three Kings, based on Matthew's book of the Gospel of the Bible. There were three kings that came, and they were trying to come on behalf of King Herod. But Herod, though, wanted to know where the Christ child was, but he was a very jealous and very ruthless purging ruler. And many believe they went by the star of 6 or 7 BC. That was been known according to astronomy. Christ was born probably about 6 BC due to a miscalculation in our calendar in the 700s that they never could correct. But afterward, after giving gifts, they went on, but they did not go back to Herod. They went another route, according to Matthew, because they knew Herod was probably in a very potentially evil motive, as people have understood, and they were probably right. He died about 4 BC by the calculated calendar, but Joseph and Mary were able to get away to Egypt in time when he started a major purge of kids 1 or 2, following anger after the kings didn't show up to tell him. I will note too that A Mall of the Night Visitors, written by Carlo Menotti in 1951, was based partly on this story, although it may be a somewhat fictional character involving Amal, the crippled boy, who he wrote in 1951 during the polio epidemic, which I was also affected by in 1948. So he might have had that as a background for probably about a crippled boy. But they got to Christ in a positive note, and today it's still played a lot, and I first heard about 1956 from this same Laverne Morrison. So that's just a little note, and royalties are charged any church or any place that performs it. Even though Menotti died about 13 years ago in 2007. But anyway, I'll play Hark the Herald Angels Sing, a couple of verses, Enjoy the World. I'll play Joy to the World. wrap this up with Angels We Have Heard on High, Gloria in Excelsis Deo, and then Go Tell It on the Mountain. We Have Heard on High became popular more than a century after it. And now, to wrap up for this portion of the Christmas program, I'll go Tell It on the Mountain. I first heard this in December of 1957 at Wooldridge School when they were having certain Christmas plays, and they played this a lot. In later years, I played it. And this is kind of one of the old Negro spirituals, I think they believe, but it's been built on and but it says, Go Tell the Mountain that Christ is born. This one, this spiritual, and the last one shows the triumph of Christ's birth and the mountain. And I hope to play some other Christmas-related songs and secular subjects, and even the New Year's ending in a later video. But anyway, hope for those listening at Christmas time, I hope this is during a good Christmas. Thank you.